Have you ever loved someone so deeply, but everyone around you tried to tear that love apart? Stay with me till the end of this story, because every moment will touch your heart. And if you love listening to stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. It keeps us connected and helps bring you new stories every week. Far away in a quiet mountain town lived a young man named Ethan. He was 24 years old, with dark hair and gentle eyes that carried both pain and hope. Ethan worked as a road builder, carrying heavy stones under the hot sun every day. His clothes were old and torn, his hands rough with scars from years of work. But inside, his heart was soft and kind. The town people often passed by him without a second look, yet he smiled at them anyway. His family was gone, and he lived alone in a small wooden hut near the river. Deep inside, he dreamed of a better life, one where he could build something with his own hands and be proud of it. In the same town lived a girl named Clara. She was 19 years old, the daughter of the mayor, and everyone in the town respected her family. Clara had bright green eyes, soft brown hair, and a smile that could light up a room. Her house was large and beautiful, filled with gold lamps and soft carpets, but her heart often felt empty. People thought she had everything: new dresses, delicious food, and all the comfort she could ask for. But Clara's soul longed for something else, something real. She wanted freedom, kindness, and love, not walls made of gold. No one knew how lonely she truly felt behind the tall gates of her house. One cloudy afternoon, Clara's carriage broke down on a muddy road at the edge of town. The wheels sank deep into the mud, and the horses refused to move. The driver shouted angrily, but no one came to help. People only watched from a distance, afraid of getting dirty. Ethan, who was working nearby, put down his stones and walked over quietly, without a word. He pushed the wheel with all his strength until it came free from the mud. Clara looked at him with wide eyes, surprised by his strength, but even more by his kindness. No man had ever helped her without expecting a reward or a smile in return. "Thank you," Clara whispered softly, her voice filled with both surprise and curiosity. Ethan only nodded and said, "It was nothing," before walking away. But inside that short moment, something changed in both their hearts. Clara could not stop thinking about the quiet young man with gentle eyes. She wanted to know more about him, the man who helped without pride, without asking, without fear. The next day, she walked along the same road, pretending to admire the fields, but truly hoping to see Ethan again. Her heart beat fast when she saw him lifting stones, sweat shining on his face under the sun. She spoke to him again, and soon their conversations grew longer. Ethan told her about his dream. "One day, I want to open a workshop and build things with my own hands." Clara smiled, her green eyes shining. "I want to travel far away, to help children who have nothing. I don't care for riches. I want to give love." Their words brought them closer, as if the dreams inside them had been waiting for someone to share them with. Day after day, they met, speaking in secret by the road, learning each other's hopes and fears. But whispers in a small town travel faster than the wind. Soon, people began to gossip. The mayor's daughter speaks to a poor worker. She laughs with him, she stays too long near him. When the mayor found out, his face grew red with anger. "Clara," he shouted, "you will never see him again. He is not your equal. He is nothing compared to us." Clara cried, "Father, he is kind, he is good, he is more than you think." but the mayor slammed the door of her room and left her alone, his anger burning like fire. That night, Ethan stood by the river, his mind heavy with pain. He stared at the dark water, unsure of what to do. Suddenly, a shadowy man appeared out of nowhere, his voice low and sharp. "Are you Ethan?" the man asked coldly. "If you care for Clara, leave this town at once. If you stay, you will bring danger to both of you." Ethan froze, his heart beating wildly. Who was this man, and why did he want Clara away from him? The warning echoed in his mind long after the stranger disappeared into the night. The next morning, Clara's window was closed tight, the curtains drawn. She did not come out, not even for a walk. Ethan asked around, but people turned away, avoiding his eyes as if they knew something he didn't. The silence in the air was heavy, like a secret everyone carried but refused to share. Something was wrong, very wrong, and Ethan felt it deep inside his chest. For the first time, fear and fire battled inside him, and his heart told him this was only the beginning of a storm. Ethan's nights grew longer and colder after Clara was locked away. He worked during the day with stones and mud, but his mind was always with her. Every time he passed the mayor's house, he looked at her window, praying to see her shadow. But the curtains stayed closed, and no sound came from inside. The people in town avoided him, whispering behind his back. He felt as if an invisible wall had risen between him and the world. Yet the memory of Clara's smile kept him breathing, even when everything else seemed against him. Clara was trapped inside her golden cage. Her father refused to listen, and her cries only made him angrier. "You will marry the man I choose, and that is final," he shouted. Her mother tried to comfort her, but even she was powerless under the mayor's rule. Clara sat by her window, writing letters she could not send, whispering Ethan's name into the night air. She dreamed of running away, but guards stood by the gates, making sure she never stepped outside. Her heart ached, not for the luxury around her, but for the boy with rough hands and gentle eyes, who had once freed her carriage from the mud. Ethan's troubles deepened when work became harder. The mayor's orders spread quickly, and soon other men refused to work beside him. He carried heavier loads than before, his back bent with pain, but no one offered help. The market sellers refused to sell him food, forcing him to walk miles to the edge of town. Sometimes he went to bed hungry, his body aching, but his mind replayed Clara's voice saying, "You are kind and good." It was the only thing keeping him alive. Each step forward felt like a fight against the entire world, but he refused to give up. One evening, as Ethan rested by the river, the same shadowy man appeared again. His eyes were cold, and his voice cut like a knife. "I warned you once, but you did not listen. Leave this town tonight, or something worse will happen." Ethan's fists clenched, and for the first time, his fear turned into anger. "Who are you?" he demanded. The man gave no answer and disappeared into the trees, leaving only silence behind him. Ethan stood there, trembling, his heart full of questions. Who sent him? Was it Clara's father, or someone else hiding in the dark? That same night, Clara made a daring choice. While everyone in the house slept, she unlocked her door with a hairpin she had hidden under her pillow. Her heart raced as she tiptoed through the hallway, her bare feet silent on the cold floor. She knew if she was caught, her father would never forgive her. At the gates, she found them locked, guarded by two men. She froze, fear rising in her throat. But then she saw a narrow passage under the stone wall. Without thinking, she slipped through the gap, her dress tearing on the rocks. At last, she was free in the cold night air. She ran through the empty streets, the wind carrying her name as if the night itself wanted to warn her. Rain began to fall, soaking her hair and clothes, but she kept running. Finally, she reached Ethan's small hut by the river. She knocked on the door, breathless, her hands shaking. Ethan opened it, his eyes widening in shock. Clara stood before him, her face wet with rain and tears. "Ethan," she whispered, "I cannot stay there anymore. If I do, I will lose myself. Take me with you anywhere, just not back to that house." Her voice broke, and she fell into his arms. Ethan held her close, his heart pounding. He could hardly believe she was there, trembling in his arms. "Clara," he said softly, "how can I protect you when I can barely protect myself?" His words were heavy, but his arms refused to let her go. Clara looked up, her eyes shining with both fear and courage. "We don't need riches. We don't need permission. We need only each other. I will work beside you, suffer beside you, and fight beside you. Please, Ethan, don't send me back." Her voice was desperate, yet stronger than he had ever heard before. The rain beat harder on the roof as Ethan made his choice. He packed what little he had: a torn blanket, a small loaf of bread, and a piece of rope. Clara helped him, her soft hands trembling but steady. Together, they stepped out into the storm, leaving behind the only life they had ever known. The road stretched into darkness, the mountains looming over them like silent giants. They did not know where they were going or what waited ahead, but their hearts were filled with a fire that no storm could put out. The storm that night was wild, and the mountains echoed with thunder as Ethan and Clara walked hand in hand. Their clothes were soaked, their shoes heavy with mud, but their hearts beat fast with courage. Every step felt dangerous, yet every step also felt like freedom. They found a small barn on the edge of another village and slept on the cold floor, using one torn blanket to keep warm. Clara shivered, but Ethan held her close, whispering that tomorrow would be better. In her eyes, the barn felt more like a palace, because at last she was beside him. The next morning, Ethan searched for work, but strangers looked at him with doubt. He knocked on doors, offering to carry wood, to clean, to build, but many said no. Clara refused to sit idle. She asked for work in a large house. And finally, a woman agreed to hire her as a maid. Her hands had never touched heavy pots or dirty floors before, but she worked harder than she ever imagined. At night, she returned to the barn, her fingers red and blistered, yet her smile never faded. "Ethan," she said, "we are poor, but I feel alive for the first time." Weeks turned into months, and slowly their lives began to change. Ethan earned a little by working as a helper on a farm, and Clara saved her wages from the house. Together, they bought simple bread and sometimes even a piece of cheese. They still lived in the barn, but now they dreamed of something more. Ethan whispered, "One day I will open a shop, and you will never have to serve anyone again." Clara touched his hand and said, "And one day, I will show you that even the richest life cannot compare to this love." Their dreams gave them strength when their stomachs were empty. One evening, while Ethan was closing his eyes after a long day, he heard a voice outside the barn. He stepped out and froze. It was the same shadowy man who had once warned him. This time, the man's face was clearer under the moonlight. You should have left, the man said coldly. Your love will bring ruin. Ethan's fists tightened. Why do you follow us? Who sent you? The man's eyes glowed with something dark. The mayor is not your only enemy. Others will never let her live as a poor man's wife. Then he vanished into the night, leaving Ethan trembling. The next day brought an even greater shock. As Clara served food in the big house, she overheard two men speaking. One whispered, "The mayor has promised gold to anyone who brings his daughter back." Clara's heart stopped. She realized her father's reach had spread far beyond their town. Anyone could betray them. Anyone could take her away. That night she told Ethan, her voice shaking. He looked at her, fear burning in his chest. "We are not safe here," he said. "If your father finds us, he will tear us apart." Clara's hands clung to his, refusing to let go. They left the barn before dawn, carrying nothing but hope. The road was longer this time, the hills steeper, and their bodies weaker than before. But they walked anyway, step after step, even when the wind cut their faces and the ground bruised their feet. Every sound in the dark made them turn, afraid someone was following. Yet each time Ethan looked at Clara's face, he saw courage shining brighter than fear. She whispered, "If we keep moving, no one can stop us." Ethan nodded, his heart beating like a drum. As they reached the next valley, tired and hungry, they found an old market where no one knew their names. Ethan asked the shopkeeper if he could rent a small corner to sell fruits. At first, the man refused, but Clara stepped forward, her voice strong. "We will work day and night. Just give us a chance." The shopkeeper studied them, then slowly nodded. That small corner became their new beginning. Ethan carried baskets, Clara arranged them, and together they smiled at strangers passing by. Every coin they earned felt like a treasure, every customer like a victory. But just as their hopes started to rise, another shadow fell across their lives. One afternoon, as Clara handed an apple to a child, she saw a familiar face in the crowd. Her heart dropped. The man was from her town, one of her father's trusted guards. His eyes narrowed as he recognized her, and his lips curled into a smile that sent chills down her spine. Clara's hands shook, the apple falling to the ground. She whispered to Ethan, her voice breaking, "He found us." Sometimes the world will try to break you, but remember, love, courage, and hard work can build a life stronger than fear. Never give up on your dreams, no matter how hard the road feels today. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next one.